Hello there, how are you? Well, you'll never guess what, but the BBC recently published an article in its business section. And the article was entitled Netflix Is Streaming Killing the Cinema? It was actually mainly a film made by the reality check's Laura Jones with motion graphics by Jacqueline Galvin. And it was actually produced by somebody, Sarah Glatt or Glatte. In it, the BBC seemed to be questioning whether or not the cinema industry is being affected and impacted by people using online streaming services. Their particular focus was on Netflix. Now, I don't know about you, thank God, but whenever I walk past the cinema, I make an assessment in my head, my tiny head, about whether I want to see a new release or not. At £8 a pop plus the obligatory £15 in ice cream, Coke and hot dog, I'd probably be better off waiting for it to be available and so I could watch it in the comfort of my own home. I'd certainly be better off financially, right? And I would actually have control over the viewing experience. The deciding factor for me is always based on how much spectacle is on offer from a film. I think that's the case anyway. If the film is going to feature massive battles, for example, battles in space, say, with planets blowing up and trekking through hyperspace, I'm probably going to want to watch that in the cinema. If it's promising a massive tsunami is going to crash into New York or the whole world is going to sink into the ocean, I'm probably going to watch something like that in the cinema. If it's promising battles in the ocean with big space robots fighting each other, I'm probably going to go and watch that one in the cinema. However, if the film is going to be a biopic about Laurel and Hardy, I'm not too fussed about the spectacle of watching two men debate contracts in an office or walking down the cobbled streets of their roots. I'm not too bothered about a film where a couple come together thanks to the mutual love they have for their dog. I don't need the surround sound. I don't need the CinemaScope experience. If all you're doing is telling me a story about two people, if I'm essentially just watching Friends, I think that's what's changed. People will pay to see spectacle, and that is about it. 3D didn't survive, did it? The other way you can get them on board, of course, is you can just give it loads of hype. The film then becomes a must-see because everyone else is talking about it, which means it's guaranteed to do well. You're going to see it anyway, won't you? Look at the film Black Panther. It made $1 billion, which is hardly surprising, because it was produced on the back end of everybody being very upset about the new president. There were issues around representation of black people in the Oscars. There was concerns about racism generally and whether it was systemic across America. All these things went into guaranteeing the success of what has been, what is seen as the first film to have a mainly black cast. As an aside, it was perhaps astonishing that more people didn't like the film for what could have been perceived as incredible racism. The first film to come along to represent a mainly black cast has them all running around in the jungle with space spears. What on earth is that all about? So when it comes to streaming, we want very different things to the things we want when we go to the cinema. The BBC article flags the fact that in 2018, the cinemas made much, much more money than in 2017. But it doesn't flag the fact that in 2017, the cinemas were in a massive slump with box office figures being as low as they were in 1992. There are reasons that very few people enjoyed cinema in 2017. And it has, I think, very little to do with Netflix and more to do with the quality of the output of the cinema. You can do some very simple research and find out that the film The Last Jedi, for example, it did very well. It didn't mean it was a good film. It just attracted a lot of attention. And it would seem, listening to the people who saw it, it got a lot of bad attention. But the way things are, in order for a film to get any of our attention, is we have to first pay our money. And then people look at the figures to work out, oh, it made lots of money, therefore it was a great film. The BBC's article seems to ignore common consumer trends and misunderstands how we think. If you're just going to look at how much money a film has made, you're not going to fully understand whether the future is healthy or not. People are waking up to the realization that if a film or program is concerning itself with the social aspects of casting and whether or not it slots into the modern world's acceptance of what's right or wrong in issues around gender, race, and sexuality, then it's not concerning itself with storytelling. If cinemas really want to do better financially, forget all that. It might be an idea. Start thinking about a new business model entirely. Start charging us reasonable prices for your food and your drink. My local cinema is next to a Poundland, which will sell me a box of Maltesers for £1, whereas the cinema will charge me £3.50 for the same thing. I would love my cinema to be a place to go and hang out. I'd love it to be part of a coffee franchise, say, where I can go and feel all bohemian and cool when I'm there. I would love it to be an internet cafe, famed for the only place to get ultra fast free internet connection, where I can plug in my laptop and sit and write my movie script. Sadly, what we actually get is noisy piped music, plasma screens everywhere with noisy trailers, popcorn on the floor, children running around screaming, nasty cutouts of cartoon characters designed to entice the children to tug at the sleeves of the parents to beg for more money to buy sugar, and a promise to go and see the next Puffy Puff Puff and the Purple Puff Dragon film. What's your view? If you like the video, please like it. If you want to subscribe, please do. Helps me out a lot. Get me on Twitter @FluctibusFlood. See ya.